From Provo, Utah.
Yeah, Provo!
This is the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast.
Yeah, Final Fantasy!
With your hosts, Joseph DeGolier and Kaleb Schwein. Is Ultimate Final Fantasy.
Hold on a second. Wow!
No one understands your reference when you say that.
No, probably nobody.
Oh, man. Well, there's that. I think there's like 5,000 people that have watched that video. All right. Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate, definitely now, the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast. We can say it with surety.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's been a beautiful couple of weeks, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
Oh, man. Ooh, we're going to talk about that for a little bit. I'm your host, Joe.
And I'm Kaleb.
And today we're going to be talking about, I've been reading Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell for the last month or so, very slowly. Obviously, it's not that big of a book.
Yeah.
And I was looking up some Final Fantasy XIV lore in preparation for like a Final Fantasy XIV episode we're going to have soon, where we go back and watch all the cutscenes from the original 14 game. And I came across kind of like some of the history of the Final Fantasy XIV universe, not that I've seen in the game really that has been explained, but you know, people have compiled together. And I was reading a chapter in Hero with a Thousand Faces by Joseph Campbell, and it seemed really familiar.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, there's a real connection here between you know, how Final Fantasy XIV's timeline is, and a few other games in the Final Fantasy series are kind of related in the same way, and we'll talk about that, to some mythologies of other of ancient cultures. Yeah. So Kaleb usually does the mythology episodes, and today I'm going to take over a little bit. I'm going to do a lot of reading, so I know people don't like it when you read on a podcast, but it's going to happen. So I'm not going to eat, though. I'm not going to eat. That's very important. I know people hate it when you eat on the podcast. Like, sometimes you just make some nice homemade bread, and sometimes you just want to talk about the history of Square Enix, and you want to eat some bread at the same time. I don't see what the problem is there.
Of course you wouldn't.
All right. So just so you guys know, in case you're finding us for the first time, which we know a lot of you guys are, you can find us at youtube.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. Twitter, you can follow us, or especially Kaleb. You can follow at UFF Podcast. You can go to facebook.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. You can support us on Patreon. $1 a month gets you the episodes early. And you know what? Our song that just came out just a couple days ago, Melodies of Life, a cover by Megadeth.
Yes.
That was brought to you by our Patreon donors. It was a goal from a long time ago, but it was finally done, and we hope you guys enjoyed it. So far, I've only heard positive feedback. If you got any feedback, please let us know. And you know where they can let us know about all that, about how they feel about the episodes. They can put like a comment on the post on the episode, or maybe they can go into a forum and create a profile and maybe talk about an episode or about any sort of Final Fantasy topic they wish with the other listeners to this podcast. They can go to ultimafinalfantasy.com, our brand new website. Now, I know there's been a lot of troubleshooting with the Final Fantasy website, and it's not completely done like I said it was going to be. I mean, we've come across a lot of snags, and we still got to fill a few of the pages up, but the forums and the comments on the posts and the posts themselves of the web of the episodes, that's all in full swing. So please use them. And we'd like to see you on there. A lot of people have been having problems with the site recently. I do want to say that a couple days ago, as of this episode coming out, I did change a little thing that most of you guys that were having trouble getting onto the site should be able to get onto it now. If you are still having trouble, you know, this is kind of like a work in progress site at the moment. If you're still having trouble getting on the site, please press print screen on your keyboard and send us an image of what exactly is happening.
Yeah, that'll help
when you
out
get
a
on
lot.
the site, so I can see what the problem is, because every computer and every phone I've ever been on can access the site perfectly. So if you're having trouble with it, I need to see exactly what it is that you're having trouble with. Also, tell me like how old your computer or phone is, because that could be an issue.
You think so?
I think it could be, because the theme that's set up for the website from Sky Warrior Themes that we got the theme from,
Yeah.
it's I think it's for newer browsers. So update your browsers also. I think that's an important thing.
I was hoping if they had any comments,
But yeah, if you see like a warning screen or something like that, please like take a snapshot or something and send it to our email. Our email is fffanatics123@gmail.com, or just tweet us.
Yeah, you can send us hate mail to the email as well, if you wish.
Yeah, don't do an iTunes review.
Yeah, which we'll get to.
Yeah. We will definitely get to that. Also, Twitch, you can see our episodes live on Saturday. Now, we are starting a bit late, so sorry for all those people who, once you hear this on Monday, sorry for you guys who waited around for a couple hours on Saturday and we didn't show up. I had a film shoot I had to go to this morning, so we're starting the episode a little bit late today, but of course, we would never miss an episode ever.
Truly, they already know, though, because I was already on until like 3.
Oh, okay. Oh, you were on Twitch. That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
FF14. So speaking of,
yeah. Tell us about FF14 right now.
it's been going pretty well for me. So I started off retardedly doing White Mage because I don't know why I wasn't reading.
You were doing
Conjurer, whatever.
To be specific,
so I got to level 20 with that, and then I finally unlocked the Thaumaturge class, which is what leads into the Black Mage. What you need to do is get a level 30 in that, and then get a level 15 Archer and do those level quests, and then you can go and become a Black Mage. For me, and for you, it was
I had to stay Conjurer up to level 30, and then Arcanist I had to become also. Okay. They're kind of like sub jobs of the job class, I guess, is what you would call it.
Right, yeah.
You have to have level 30 of one job and then 15 of the other. And depending on which jobs those are, that kind of changes your job, I guess. And we had already discussed beforehand that I was going to be White Mage, you will be Black Mage.
Right.
And that way, when other people played with us and they were
roles.
They were tanks or they were damage, which are two of the biggest or most popular roles in the game, that everybody would we'd be able to get the most people to join us on a game.
Right. And I am a DPS,
in a dungeon or something like that.
The Black Mage is DPS, but I know what you mean. So essentially now all we need is there's 4-man dungeons and there's a lot of 5-man, and then there's even bigger ones later. But normally right now they're about 4 and 5, so we're pretty covered. It's really nice. We got a lot of people that jump on at various times, so it's going pretty well. And so I just barely, as of this morning, I got level 30 with my Thaumaturge and 15 with my Archer. So I have to do the level 30 quest. I tried it and I was just kind of rushing through it, and I didn't do certain things that I should have done, like kill the ads.
You're actually going to have 2 quests. One quest will be the level 30 quest for that sub job, and then the other quest will be the quest that gets you the job.
Yeah, I know. And I have to do the level 31 for that.
I didn't know that. I got to level 30 and level 15 on both my classes, and I was like, what the crap?
Yeah.
Why did I not suddenly become the White Mage?
Yeah.
Then I had to, I looked around a little bit in the game, and I was able to.
Yeah, so I need to do 2 more quests, and I can go Black Mage. So it's pretty awesome. And other than that, I've just been plowing through the story quests. Once I unlocked the Thaumaturge, I moved to that class because that was the one that goes into Black Mage. And then I just kind of did low-level stuff, some of the Fate events, and just random other things to level that up to the story quest area, to be on par with story quest or a little bit above. And then I just plowed out the rest of the story quest until 30. And that's kind of my objective. So I don't know. I'm probably
I'll see you on Wrath of the Titan. That's what I said?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's what I'm waiting for you on, because I've been ahead of you this whole game because I just used my old account that I got to level 15 on, and I paid for months, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you.
So I was a little bit ahead. I'm just waiting on you now just to get to Wrath of the Titan. And then from then on, me and Kaleb should be together for the most part as far as where we are in the main scenario stuff in the story.
And if I play extra, I'll just do other classes just for fun.
Okay, that's up to you. That's up to your extra time, your leveling up time. That's all.
I love it.
You.
It's going pretty well though.
As far as the story is concerned, I kind of want to do everything with everybody. I think Krenital's in a very similar place, and some other people that are playing with us. By the way, if you want to join us, you can join us Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at around 6:30, probably 7-ish. We're seeing 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You're going to have to figure out, based on your region, what time that is for you. And also, you can join us on the PS4 party chat. And we have TeamSpeak information on you. The only people using TeamSpeak right now are Crititol and then me, sort of.
Right.
Just because so many of us are on PS4. But the more people on the TeamSpeak on PC, the better. So if you want to join us, please join us. We're on the Brynhilder server.
Right.
So
and,
that's a very important detail.
Yes, you definitely need to know that. And it's sometimes kind of tough to get in, as we mentioned before. But you'll figure it out.
All right. So a little bit of show information before we get to the news. We have had a very large boost since we interviewed a Nero of Limit Break Radio. Now, his episodes came out and they were pretty much on par with the other episodes that we were having as far as like how many downloads we were getting per day.
Right.
And so we were like, okay, pretty successful. Hopefully once he mentions us on the show, we'll get some more people from Limit Break Radio. And it seemed like we got a little bump. And then Nero from Limit Break Radio, he asked us, hey, do you mind, because it's kind of like an anniversary time for Limit Break Radio, we're going to put like a best of episode. Do you mind if I like take your episode and like take its RSS feed thing and put it through our feed? And so you'll get a big boost in downloads if your stuff can handle it. And we don't host our own episodes; we host it through Libsyn.
Yeah, so
I was like, yeah, go for it. And he did it, and suddenly our podcast like blew up.
Yeah, it was good
as
stuff.
far as where we are in iTunes and like how many downloads we're getting per day. It's not just the Nero episodes anymore. I feel like we got a good boost from the Nero episodes, and that's what brought us into like the top 200 video game podcasts on iTunes. But we've been there for like more than a week now. How long have we been there?
A couple weeks.
Say,
yeah.
And the downloads they're awesome right now. So I know a lot of you guys are like brand new people. I want to really thank Nero for getting us where we are. This is a big thing for Ultimate Final Fantasy. I mean, this was always kind of our goal, was to get in the top 200 video game podcasts. We actually made it. There's been a couple days where we've been in Games and Hobbies, which is the kind of the
bigger one,
the bigger list of the video game stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, for all you new guys, welcome
to the show.
For everybody that's been here the whole time. Thank you very much.
Seriously, Jesus, thank you very much. I mean, it's been a wonderful ride, and as we go forward with the Final Fantasy games, I hope to see a whole bunch of new faces on like our forum, talking to us on Twitch.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, welcome, and go through our back catalog. Realize that the first few episodes are a little hard to listen to, but further along you get, the better it gets.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think some people don't.
Well, I mean, screw them, right?
Yeah, fuck them. All right, Schwein, shall we get to the Final Fantasy news?
Yes. News. All right, so since it's been a few weeks, we do have a little bit of news. Not quite as much as I was expecting, but they did dump a shitload of it on us. Yeah. Just a few weeks ago. Like right before the 13 episode, there was a lot of stuff that came out. So, let's get to it here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Get to know the fierce female warrior from Final Fantasy VII writer's next RPG.
So the writer of Final Fantasy VII...
Nojima, yes.
Nojima.
Yep.
Okay. He made a game called Zodiac or Canon Odyssey? Is that what I'm looking at here?
Yep, and it's going to be nearing a release.
Mobile game.
It is, but it's going to be coming to PS4 and Vita afterwards, but it's initially going to be released on the iOS. And, yeah,
so check that out. I guess if you're a big fan of Kazushige Nojima, now I do believe he's a little bit iffy as far as like what Final Fantasies he's been a big part of.
Yeah. I was kind of hesitant on that just because it's not really FF news, but he did play a big part in some of the bigger games, so I don't know. If you're interested in an iOS game, I mean, go for it. So,
more mobile news.
Yeah, even more. So, Final Fantasy VI Terra returns for FF Record Keeper.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so she's going to take her
I
clothes
didn't
off
know she was gone.
yet again in another game here. Titled, the challenge event is titled Touched by Magic.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's the latest
Touch
one.
me with your magic.
I'm okay. It's going to be running from October 14th until October 24th. And it gives you yet another chance.
Did we talk about the email that we got from a record keeper guy?
No, we never mentioned it. I totally forgot to. I was like, oh yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay, I think there was some like media guy from Record Keeper, some PR guy that asked us to mention something that was happening in Record Keeper. Kaleb told him. I looked at the email. I was no part of this was me for that guy out there. Kaleb told him he would mention it. And then he never told me, and then he forgot about it. So we had an episode where we were supposed to mention something about Record Keeper that some dude at Square Enix asked us to talk about.
And we didn't. Yeah, see, that's us sticking it to him. Just kidding.
And then Kaleb was like, oh yeah, I forgot about the email. And then I looked at him like, it's too late now. There was a date.
It's already out.
There was a date on some of it. Anyway, that's another story for another time. And so I guess Tara, I never knew Tara was gone, but I guess she's back.
Yeah. So it gives you
magic.
It gives you a chance to recruit her and Cyan from FF6 if you missed it the first time around, which of course I don't know what that is, but yeah, if you're into that game, you get another chance. Mm-hmm. If you already received them by completing this event, you'll get a greater growth egg instead of Tara because you already have Tara. So
nice.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. An extra little quest there, bringing back FF6.
I feel like I have to say this every time because I know there's a few people out there that told us that they were going to do reviews of the mobile games. If you want to do a review of one of the mobile Final Fantasy games, please do like a 20 to 30 minute review. Just send us the audio file and it shall be our discussion.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, we'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah, because like we're never going to cover the mobile games, any of them. Any. Do you understand me? Any of them. We're never going to cover them. So if you guys want to have an episode of Ultimate Final Fantasy having to do with one of the mobile games being reviewed, one of you guys can give us a little segment, and of course that'll be our official review episode. Not reviewed by us, of course, but reviewed by you guys, which I think would be a cool thing. So. Yeah,
we'll have to add something like the opinions, blah, 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 do not necessarily represent the opinions of Ultima Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that's true.
Some bullshit radio thing. So another thing that I thought was really weird, especially with all this mobile stuff that Square Enix has been doing recently, they filed a trademark for Shinra Game System in Europe. And so Shinra Technologies is apparently a subsidiary of Square Enix on cloud gaming. And this trademark, according to this article, might suggest that Square Enix is readying a stationary device to support its upcoming cloud gaming services.
Hopefully it'll give us all of the Square Enix games that were ever released.
In other countries and stuff.
That'd be sweet.
That would be really awesome.
That's not going to happen, but it's something I dream of.
That would be.
But because I said it, Kotaku will pick it up and then put it as fact out there.
Yeah, no shit.
Sorry for you Kotaku lovers out there, but that site sucks.
It definitely can. So another mobile game, as always, Brave Exvius launched on October 22nd in Japan.
Oh, yeah. So happy for them.
Yep. We don't get it. It looks interesting. There's Terra with the freaking Magitech armor.
It looks like an old school Final Fantasy game. I think we talked about it a little bit before.
We did, yeah. I don't know. I like the old school stuff, but we'll still not play it. So this is another thing that's kind of weird. They do
we get a release date for Dissidia Arcade?
Yes, in Japan. It's going to be coming out on November 26th. And it's launching in Japanese arcades, which is a weird thing.
We talked about it. We had a whole episode.
We did. We talked about it, but it's weird to me that arcades are still a thing. Like around here, there's an arcade.
Well, they exist. You can go to like something called Nickelcade, where like
but it's all old stuff. I don't know if they have any new arcade games that people are like, oh, I want to program.
The newest one is probably that Terminator Salvation arcade game.
Yeah, that's not that new, but. I guess it's not that long ago. It's not crazy, but
I don't know. Kind of the old school feel. I mean, I guess the arcade market kind of blows in the US. So.
I mean, I like arcades.
At least where we're at. It could be different in your area.
Yeah. So Lightning Returns is going to be released.
Shocking.
For PC. Slated for December.
Shocking. Nice. So
shocking.
Nice little Christmas present. Well, they said they were going to release all 3, so
yeah,
I honestly thought it was already out.
Did you really?
I did.
Wow.
Obviously, I did not buy it on the PC.
Well, no. I mean, we have it on PS3. Why would you buy it on PC when you can get the trophies? I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, if the PS3 ever craps out.
Does the, but the trophies are online. It's linked to your account.
That doesn't matter. I'm not going to buy another PS3.
You're just going to be done?
Yeah, I think so.
You'll just buy it on
how many
Steam?
other PS3 games do we have to go through?
Not very many.
No.
No, Kingdom Hearts.
Just the 13 sequels and
Kingdom
the
Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts HDs.
That's like a million games, though. I mean, it's 2 discs, but it's like a million Kingdom Hearts games.
It's like 6 Kingdom Hearts games. Yes, I know.
So, anyway, speaking of FF14 as well, this is something I started to notice. They have a Halloween event, and they do this with major holidays. I know they... who was it? Roxo was saying something they decorate for Christmas. Mm-hmm. But if you notice, the world has jack-o'-lanterns and ghosts and all this stuff hanging up everywhere.
I just thought it was normal.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of all we know. But no, they just barely threw it up a few days ago. And there's an event that's also been released. And this is called the, what was it? All Saints Wake. That's what it is.
Children, what is that thing? Children prepare. Oh, let's do this.
Ooh, okay.
Children prepare for a night. Oh, fuck. It's not working. God damn it.
You asshole.
Sorry, ooh, there it is. Children prepare for a night of costumed capers, but will the dark bring tasty treats or terrible tricks? There you go. Sorry, I didn't have the reverb on you.
No, you
only
didn't.
on me.
So yeah, this is it's a special little investigation quest. You can actually pick this up at the Adventurers Guild in Old Gridania, and it's located at X10Y8. And I walk past that.
It's in the middle of Old Gridania.
All the time, yeah.
Next to the event place.
And the little Moogle station.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. And I really like it when games do this for their backgrounds. Like League of Legends does it all the time, where they add snow or they add the jack-o'-lanterns, and it just kind of spices up the game a little bit. It makes you know that they're actually putting some pretty solid work into keeping it looking pretty good. And of course, there are new items as well. You've got the witch outfit, which has the hat, the coat, the gloves, and the thigh boots.
I want you to know that it's called a coatee.
Well, yeah, cote.
The witch's coatee.
And then I've also seen Dr. Roxo flying around on his witch's broom with his extremely hot character. I will put that out there. And Doctor. Yeah. And so it's a lot of fun, and it looks really cool. So
Dr. Roxo is the guy we play with. It's not the character from, what was it, Metalocalypse?
Metalocalypse, yeah. He's an actual person.
Well,
sort of, yeah.
There's a person behind the character in both cases. So this is really hard to say.
Yeah. Now, only a few people will understand. So, in light of all the FF7 remake and all of this stuff, apparently Square, as we've mentioned, they're going to continue remaking existing IPs.
Yeah, because the Final Fantasy VII remake has been such a huge success. Oh, wait! Hasn't come out yet, and they don't even know.
Yep. And they want to give longtime fans the ability to play the game on the latest console and with the latest technology. So
they should do that anyway, but I don't think they should change the games. We've had this conversation.
I know.
Whatever. I can't stop the future.
No, you can't. You can't stop progress, Joe, no matter how hard you try.
Is it really progress, though?
No, I don't really care. I don't even know. So, and then another little bit of 14 news. They've got... there's some new dungeons, new stuff, pretty much new everything coming out.
Patch 3.1?
Yeah, the patch 3.1.
Okay.
New shit.
New shit for patch 3.1.
Yeah, we can't even touch it, so...
Go to Limit Break Radio for more patch news.
Yeah, no shit. I feel like talking about this would not make any sense. Oh, man, there's a quest called Why So Serious, but it's SIRIUS.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, there's all sorts of new gear, new flying mounts.
Yeah, you already said that.
Cool shit.
Yeah.
And then, of course...
Okay. We always save the FF15 news for last.
It's
true.
Why?
Because it's the most important.
It is. I mean, the 14 stuff is pretty awesome, but
It is, and now that we're playing the game, it kind of like makes sense more. Like what's going on.
Well,
we're not spitting out news where we're like, what is this? I don't even know what it is. But I guess if you care, here's the news.
Except for the 3.1 news that we just discussed existing that we won't talk about because we don't know. But yeah, I've noticed a lot of that when I'm going through 14 and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And I'm like, oh, wait, I remember talking about this like a year ago. Or they're doing this and this now. And I'm like, I like that. So I've found a few cases of that, but it's all in the past. So apparently we have an explanation as to why everyone's dressed in black for Final Fantasy XV.
Because it's cool.
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly what he said. So here is what Tabata said. The clothing worn by the 4 main characters is the official battle gear of the Kingdom of Lucius. Noctis is a member of the royal family, and the other 3 characters are parts of
a leather
various...
jacket would be official battle gear for any civilization, but whatever.
Yeah, the like other...
Maybe like a motorcycle gang.
Yeah. No, there's like a giant crazy land to the north or something like that where they wear gimp suits instead. It's just their mouth and eyes. That's all you can see. So Noctis, as a member of the royal family...
elite.
Yeah. They're the ones that everyone like hates because they're freaks.
Oh, man.
So as a member of the royal family, and the other 3 obviously are part of Lucian national organizations, they're all wearing this specific dress, all this black leather. And so that kingdom where they reside, the color black has been historically treated as a special color. And because of this, the attire of the royal family and those in occupations closely tied to them are unified by having black as a base coloring. Even though it's not really a color, but whatever.
This sounds like
bullshit.
Yeah, it does. This is what happened. Okay, you're gonna hear this explanation from Tabata, and this is really what happened.
It was 06.
There was some dude who drew the 4 characters all in black, and they said, "Okay, that's cool. Now let's make up an explanation for it."
So this part of the lore is the reason why the outfits of all 4 main characters are black.
Bullshit.
For the finished game, they also intended on having their clothing have effects in battle and not just being part of the world and its background. So watch out for that.
That might be cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Can't even begin to think of what that means, but yeah. So I mean, it's still expected to be released 2016, and really looking forward to that when it happens. Although I will say, I still think it's just I don't know, man. Like the emo phase, the like all black of 06, 07-ish. That's what this game is. That's why they're wearing black. It's because that was big.
The same designs.
They did, yeah. They didn't want to change that because why would you? You've already got the artwork done. I mean,
yeah, I think it looks fine.
Yeah, it doesn't bug me. I'm just saying that's why it's that way.
Yeah, I'm not gonna believe some bullshit thing about. Well, the color black symbolizes.
Yeah.
Power.
In the year 1000.
Like it has always symbolized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I don't know about that.
It's slimming. No. It's a special armor. Okay. And it tells everybody that they're part of this civilization. Like,
yeah, that sounds...
Does that mean that the other kingdoms, like, they don't wear black? Like, they had to wear, like, their colors?
Yeah, what do they wear when they mourn?
There's like one
white
guy that's in, like, all red. Well, I mean, it would depend on the civilization whether or not they mourn, whether or not they see a color a certain way, I think, actually.
Yeah, I could see that.
But, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I feel like it'd be easy to deceive people in battle if they had color codes. Like, just wear black and they won't shoot us. They're in black, too, and then we'll kill them from behind.
There you go. It's going to be like the red coats coming down the hill, though. It's like, well, easy targets.
Yeah. Like, oh, they've even got the little cross thing on them.
Yeah. That's where you aim.
Yeah. See that part where his jacket's open? Right there. Right there.
All right, Schweiss.
We're going to be talking about this Joseph Campbell now?
We're going to be talking about one of his theories, I guess you would call it, and how it kind of has to do with some Final Fantasy lore. So,
ooh, tasty.
Shall we get to that?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right, Caleb, do you know who Joseph Campbell is?
Sure.
Sure? Okay.
Who is he?
He was a guy who studied a lot of mythology. He was a college professor, and he wrote a lot of books about ancient stories, ancient mythological figures, and kind of from around the world. And he was famous for showing the populace, especially people like George Lucas, and he had a series on PBS called The Power of Myth. He was famous for showing that, you know, all of these mythologies that we all know of, they're all a lot of them share a lot of similarities.
Right.
So you've heard of things like the hero's journey. That was kind of spelled out in The Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is Joseph Campbell's first book. And now someone can probably go through a Final Fantasy game and say, okay, this is how the hero's journey applies to Final Fantasy. I'm sure someone has already done it on the internet, and we can go into that at some point if we want to. But I was reading this book. I read it in high school, and I just felt like reading it again. I was reading this book after watching some Final Fantasy XIV lore videos, and I saw a very big similarity to one of the chapters in the book and the Final Fantasy XIV lore, having to do with their history of, like, the ages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is stuff I've not explored in the game itself. It's just me exploring stuff on the internet, so I'm not an expert on Final Fantasy XIV's lore, but I think this is pretty cool, and I got a web page opened up here. This is from Nole Tazer on the Square Enix forums, I guess. And he kind of lays out a basic timeline for Final Fantasy XIV. Now, there's Umbral eras and there's Astral eras, and as far as I can tell, these are in like 1,000 year spans. And every Umbral era is followed by an Astral era. And the Umbral eras are times of, like, chaos and disorder and, like, a big calamity ending them. And the Astral eras are kind of a period of growth. Like, you know, things are going well.
Yeah, recovery.
For, like, another 1,000 years or whatever.
Okay.
So the first Umbral era, and the first few here have, like, a theme to the Umbral eras especially. First Umbral era is the element of wind. During an unknown time, the wandering tribes began to war with each other. The 12 gods and goddesses were angered and left the land of Eorzea to the tribes. Then followed by the first Astral era, which is the Age of Man. That's when the Age of Man begins. The second Umbral era, its element was lightning, and nothing is known of the calamity. The second Astral era, nothing is known of that era either. So this guy put this down. Now, there's some stuff that's, like, unknown, but they know that the second Umbral era probably ended in something to do with lightning. Okay? So the third Umbral era, possibly the rise of Bahamut. This element that the third Umbral era had to deal with was fire. Then there was the third Astral era, which I guess a bunch of stuff happened in, with the fourth Umbral era being the element of earth. Sorry if I pronounce these wrongs. Allagan's empire's destruction ushers in the fourth Umbral era, possibly due to the imprisonment of Bahamut. Then followed by the fourth Astral era, followed by the fifth Umbral era, which is the element of ice, which kind of goes away from what I'm about to read here. Which the ancestors of the Mikode tribes travel across the frozen seas following food. So basically, like, the big thing at the end of that era was ice. The sixth Umbral era was the element of water. A great flood submerges and damages many parts of Eorzea, caused by the abuse of power with the white mages. As a result, the arts begin to die out.
Goddamn white mages can't be trusted.
So each element for each of these Umbral eras and we're in the seventh Umbral era, I believe, in Final Fantasy XIV as of right now. Each of the destructions of these eras, like kind of their downfall,
right,
has to do with the element, I guess, in some sort of way. And not all of it's spelled out. And hopefully we'll see more of it spelled out as we play the game and as the game is expanded upon. You know, we'll see more of the background lore of this type of thing. Now,
all right, now how does that compare to Joseph Campbell's book?
Now, the first part of Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is like Joseph Campbell's big book, the first part of it is the hero's journey part of it, where he goes through and he's like, okay, the hero starts out maybe
nobody
orphaned, and then he, you know, he gets the call, and there's the refusal of the call, and then there's the mentor, and then there's the blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. We all know the hero's journey because we all learned about it in 6th grade English, I feel like. Am I right there?
Yeah, it's just every story, so.
It's everywhere, and then they're like, well, yeah, Joseph Campbell spelled this out, and we never actually read the book. But this is the book. Now, then he talks about something called the... I hope I say this right. It's the cosmogonic cycle. Which has to do with like circular creation myths in different cultures. So this is like a totally separate thing from the hero's journey. But I do want to read something here that kind of excited me as far as like Final Fantasy XIV's timeline, and it's kind of similar to other stuff in Final Fantasy. Where, you know, there's different eras and they're marked by different things. Like there was once the War of the Magi in Final Fantasy VI, and now magic is gone. And then we have no idea what happened in that era, but now suddenly there's this one girl and she has magic back, you know, and it's like there was once great technology and now we're in a time of no technology or whatever. Or like technology is coming back. That's something that happens a lot in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it is for sure.
And, also Final Fantasy III, there were once... You know, the world once went out of balance with the elements, and then the Warriors of Darkness saved them. And then, of course, you play Final Fantasy III now, and it's the Warriors of Light,
right?
Saving the different elements, and the elements going out also as being they're the calamity, the calamity stopping. Or destroying the world. You know what I mean? Like the crystals breaking, and that element starts going haywire or stops completely.
Yep.
Depending on which Final Fantasy game you play. The first 5 Final Fantasies, that's all it has to deal with. So I want you to hear this. Now, different cultures kind of have different elements to their stuff. I think there's like 5 elements in Chinese culture. This one's interesting. This is a quote from Joseph Campbell. According to an Aztec version of this cosmogonic round, he calls it the universal round, each of the 4 elements, water, earth, air, and fire, terminates a period of the world. This is in Aztec mythology. So their idea is that the timeline of the world is circular like it is with Final Fantasy XIV.
Right.
There's different eras, and they kind of like, you know, they're destroyed by certain parts. Here it is. Each of the 4 elements, water, earth, air, and fire, terminates a period of the world. The eon of the waters ended in deluge. Deluge? That of the earth with an earthquake, that of the air with a wind, and the present eon will be destroyed by flame. Now, that's the point when I was like reading this book and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So like Final Fantasy XIV kind of has to do with the Aztecs, sort of. And then he goes on about another culture that had a similar sort of way of looking at time. Now, I'm going to read quite a bit here. He says, a magnificent vision of the cosmogonic round is presented in the mythology of the Jains. And then he talks about how the most recent prophet and savior of this very ancient Indian sect, was Mahavira, a contemporary of the Buddha, and his parents were, it goes back and back and back in generations and generations, and each generation, like, their age is a little bit bigger. You know how in like the Bible we read that like people were like 900 years old?
Right, yeah.
And then as time goes on, like the people age shorter and shorter. That's kind of a similar thing, but they do it in like different ages here. So I'm just going to read this big passage here. The Jains conceive of time as an endless round. Time is pictured as a wheel with 12 spokes or ages, classified in 2 sets of 6. The first set is called the descending series and begins the ages of the superlative giant couples. I can't read out loud, obviously. It's something I cannot do. That paradisic period endures for 10 millions of 10 millions of 100 millions of 100 million periods of countless years, and then yields slowly to the only half as blissful period when men and women are only 4 miles tall. So they were miles and miles tall beforehand. Okay. In the third period, that of the, sorry about these Indian names, Rabhanatha,
First of the 24 world saviors, happiness is mixed with a little sorrow and virtue with a little vice. At the conclusion of this period, men and women are no longer born together in couples to live together as man and wife. During the fourth period, the gradual deterioration of the world and its inhabitants steadily continues. The lifespan and stature of man slowly diminish. 23 world saviors are born, each restating the eternal doctrine of the James in terms appropriate to the conditions of the time. 3 years, 8.5 months after the death of the last of the saviors and prophets, Mahavira, this period comes to an end. In our own age, the fifth of the descending series began in 522 BC and will last for 21,000 years. No Jaina savior will be born during this time, and the eternal religion of the Jains will gradually disappear. It is a period of unmitigated and gradually intensifying evil. The tallest human beings are only 7 cubits tall. I'm not sure how much a cubit is, but that's how tall I guess the tallest human beings are in this time. And the longest lifespan, no more than 125 years. People have only 16 ribs. They are selfish, unjust, violent, lustful, proud, and avaricious. But in the sixth of the descending ages, the state of man and his world will still be more horrible. The longest life will only be 20 years. 1 cubit will be the greatest stature, and 8 ribs the meager allotment. The day will be hot, the night's cold, disease will be rampant, and chastity non-existent. Tempests will sweep over the earth, and toward the conclusion of the period, these will increase. In the end of all life, human and animal, and all the vegetable seeds will be forced to take shelter in the Ganges, in miserable caves, and in the sea. The descending series will terminate. This is the cool part here. And the ascending series will begin when the tempests and desolation will have reached the point of the unendurable. For 7 days, then it will rain, and 7 different kinds of rains will fall. The soil will be refreshed, and the seeds will begin to grow. Out of the caves, the horrible dwarf creatures of the arid, bitter earth will venture, and very, very gradually there will be perceptible a slight improvement in their morals, health, beauty, and stature, until presently they will be living in a world such as the one as we know today. So it's kind of like the umbral eras and the astral eras. You see that?
Yeah,
he went through like the first 6 folks of the Jains were the umbral era as it descended.
The shithole.
And then it will go back again to the, I say the astral era. Of course, they have a different word for it with the Jain mythology.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. I dug some of the going down.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No chastity?
No chastity, baby.
Yeah.
Checkmate.
You're one of the people that they talk about there. So
Don't cry, Yazoo.
I thought that was really something else, that there was that kind of connection, that they obviously were looking into that when they were looking into Final Fantasy XIV's mythology, especially on how to recreate the world and call it the same story. As they do in Final Fantasy XIV to A Realm Reborn. Although I don't think it actually changes Umbral eras. I think it's the same Umbral era. But I have to check that out later, and someone can probably correct me on that, upon what that is. This also kind of reminds me of the Final Fantasy XI lore, where it's like there were once these great people called the Zillerts. I think someone's going to correct me on this. And then, it kind of got worse and worse and worse, and then they became the humans. So there's basically this descent down into what the world of Final Fantasy XI is at the time. And Final Fantasy XI has its own ages too, but it doesn't quite have the circular. It doesn't have this universal round that Joseph Campbell talks about. But Final Fantasy XIV does, and I just thought that was cool, and I wanted to share it with people. And we gotta have a short episode today, so that's what I wanted to talk about. Now, if you want, we can talk about kind of Joseph Campbell's idea as far as like why we kind of look at he calls it the cosmogonic round in a certain way, like why these myths were created in human minds. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, sure. We can talk about that.
So I'm going to read
Indulge me.
2 more paragraphs here. I just thought this was awesome. So guys, go out and get the book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. If this mythology stuff interests you, you'll definitely see a lot of similarities between the ancient mythologies that Joseph Campbell talks about and Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy lore from the different games. So this is interesting. It all has to do with kind of our sleep cycle. As the consciousness of the individual rests on a sea of night into which it descends in slumber and out of which it mysteriously wakes, so in the imagery of myth, the universe is precipitated out of and reposes upon a timelessness back into which it again dissolves. And as the mental and physical health of the individual depends on an orderly flow of vital forces into the field of waking day from the unconscious dark, so again in myth, the continuance of the cosmic order is assured only by a controlled flow of power from the source. The gods are symbolic personifications of the laws governing this flow. The gods come into existence with the dawn of the world and dissolve into the twilight. Does that sound like Final Fantasy to you? Does that sound like the gods? They began with a great crystal, then the gods, blah, 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 blah. Does that sound like a Final Fantasy?
Sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah. They are not eternal in the sense that the night is eternal. Only from the shorter span of human existence does the round of a cosmogonic eon seem to endure. The cosmogonic cycle is normally represented as repeating itself, world without end, during which each great round, lesser disillusions are commonly included, as the cycle of sleep and waking resolves throughout a lifetime. So the basic idea is that the reasons why, these were brought up, possibly, that these myths were created, has to do with our sleep schedule and dreams and deep sleep and waking. And I'll close with this. The philosophical formula illustrated by the cosmogonic cycle is that of the circulation of consciousness through the 3 planes of being. The first plane is that of waking experience, cognitive of the hard, gross facts of an outer universe illuminated by the light of the sun and common to all. The second plane is that of dream experience, cognitive of the fluid, subtle forms of private interior world, self-luminous and of one substance with the dreamer. The third plane is that of deep sleep, dreamless, profoundly blissful. In the first are encountered the instructive experiences of life. In the second, these are digested, assimilated into the inner forces of the dreamer, while in the third, all is enjoyed and known unconsciously in the space within the heart, the room of the inner controller, and the source and end of all. So I think that's a very interesting theory brought by Joseph Campbell. I'm not sure if he made these things up, but it's definitely written in his book here. Having to do with, creation myths of a circular nature. So
yeah, it's a very common thing. I mean, a lot of cultures, spirals are the big thing.
Yeah, and I know that we read a couple. No, you read one Wheel of Time book. I've read a couple, and our friends have read a shitload of Wheel of Time. And I know Wheel of Time kind of has that weird thing where all time loops in a circle and it begins again, which is not in our modern world from our worldview a way that me and you, I think, look at the world as far as how time kind of works. Time to us is a singular linear path.
Right.
Instead of a circular one. But I think this stuff is awesome. And, Final Fantasy XIV used it to their great advantage.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
You keep using the word. I don't think that's what you think it means.
I was going to throw that in for the one of the words you kept using in there, but I don't want to throw you off.
Well, it's definitely, words can be pronounced in my mind and work just fine. And then I say that I'm like, oh,
yeah.
So
no,
I apologize for that, but I thought that was cool, and I figured I'd share that. So
I'm glad you made that connection.
Yeah,
just in time for all the FF14 movies playing.
Just in time. That's right. So kind of when you're seeing the cyclical cycles of Final Fantasy and their timelines, just kind of their patterns. Realize that it's not something Final Fantasy made up. It's not the guys at Square Enix that made this thing up, and I don't even know if they did it consciously. But they definitely have a lot of
source material,
a lot of ancient mythologies, just brought into the lore, the storytelling, not just the names of the beasts or the weapons, which someone asked us to do a mythology of the weapons. Why not at some point do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's no strange idea for them to pull from mythology and all these other things. They do it every single game. So I bet you they did it consciously. I doubt they would just accidentally have this massive connection to this common theory.
All right. You want to answer a question or two?
Yeah, let's do that. All right, so first up in questions here. This one is from the old forums.
Don't ask questions on the old forums.
Yes, please go.
If you cannot ask us a question on the new forums, like if there's a problem, try to email us, fffanatics123@gmail.com, or you can call us at our number, 385-204-3921, or you can tweet us.
Yes,
don't ask any more questions on the old forum. It is really dying.
Yeah, it's
we have a Getting Fat episode that we have to look at the old Getting Fat questions that we didn't answer and kind of clear them out.
Yeah, that's
the only reason why the forums are still up today.
Yep, so go to the new site and register on there.
Yes.
So this one's from Amerline on there, and he asks, will you update the 2 playlist? Ooh. He says he is curious if we're going to update the FF game 2 playlist. Will we constantly add new FF games to play, like World of Final Fantasy or Final Fantasy Explorers? Or are the games on the previous list the only ones? Okay. He just doesn't remember Joe ever updating the list. We haven't had to, really.
And he's trying to post it on the old forum, but got an error. Try it again. Well, not this exact question, Amerline. Thank you for the question. Yes, we will update the games. We will never play a mobile, like we said. Mm-hmm. However, if there is a release on anything besides a mobile, like if there's a if there's a console release of any kind, including handheld consoles, we will play it and we will update it. However, the order that they're in is still the order that we're going to play it. So in other words, if Final Fantasy XV comes out and we're in the middle of FF11's expansions, we have to stop that. We have to put a pause button on whatever expansion that we finish on. And then we go back, play Final Fantasy XV, and then continue with the FF11 expansions, and then on from there.
Yeah, we'll throw them on the list, but they'll be where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's not like 15's release is going to sneak up on us in the night.
When Final Fantasy World is going to be one of the last games that we play.
Yep. So yeah, we'll update the list when it needs to be, but I don't know. I don't think it's really that pertinent. Plus, we might be making some changes to that
I have Final Fantasy Explorers on there already, and I think I got Kingdom Hearts 3 on there also, as far as where it is on the list.
Right.
So it's not like I didn't look forward a little bit, but Final Fantasy World's a new one. We'll see.
All right.
We'll update it as long as it's not mobile.
Yeah, mobile ones. That's mostly what's been
mobile
coming out.
and free to play. I'm not going to play like a Facebook game or anything like that. Anything in that kind of category, fuck that.
Anything in the bullshit category.
Yeah, the bullshit category.
All right, so we have another one here from the new forums. Yeah, from Sinner here, and she asks. She posted on the questions for the forum, but Gamma thought maybe it would be a good one for the show too. Do either of you feel like you have an FF doppelganger? A character that you look like, or maybe just your characteristic, like your voice or personality, reminds you of yourself.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't have enough self reflection. I don't know how to describe this. I can't look at myself very, very well and see myself honestly as for what I am and how a Final Fantasy character might be similar to myself. I think we had a similar question at some point. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
FF doppelganger. I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Kaleb Schweiss on a good day and with a full head of hair it's a little bit like Locke from Final Fantasy VI.
Huh.
He's a good guy. He's there to impress the ladies. And he's got kind of dirty blonde hair.
Yeah.
And he can put like a 90s sweatband right there and get his lock on, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Joe, when he is bald as a cue ball and no longer has hair, will make a grand, I don't know, Yosef, maybe? Or Joseph from 2. No, I
I'm
don't
not
know.
quite fit enough to be like a monk.
Yeah, that guy's fucking ripped. I don't know. If I were to make one that's your personality, oh man, who would I put?
I don't know. We had a similar question before, and I'm like, I don't know any Final Fantasy characters that are like me.
If you were in any way smooth, I would say Edgar, because you can be funny sometimes. Less funny than everyone else, but when you're in a crowd of pure comedians, it's not fair to say. But at the same time, geez, this is a ridiculous question.
Thanks, Sinner, for the question.
Yeah, thank you, but I don't know. I don't know who I'd put you as. They're all so subhuman in a lot of ways. Like
If you guys want to post this on the forum, the topic is called Doppelganger on the forum in the questions area. Tell us what you think our FF doppelgangers are.
You know, actually, I've seen one from Shinru saying that he thinks Edge or maybe Zack.
For
I
you?
can see. No, I'm thinking for you, maybe. I think Zack would be a fair fit.
Zack?
Yeah, he's kind of...
From 7?
Yeah, he's kind of happy and, I don't know, kind of outgoing, but not at the same time. That would work.
Okay.
Not as awesome as
I think you're more of a Sephiroth in this FF7 kind of situation.
You think so?
Yeah, kind of brooding. You got some like inner turmoil going on. You're always really cocky. Kind of quiet. Yeah, I see a Sephiroth.
Got a big long sword.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, we haven't compared sword sizes, but I think
Jesus.
obviously girth is much more important. You put the old. What was the thing that you put as the FF7 thing on our new forum? It was like the ultimate contest between length and
Oh
girth.
yeah, that was the description for FF7.
That was pretty beautiful.
The ultimate
Did you steal
showdown.
that from someone?
No,
Oh, that was pretty clever.
at least I don't think someone else might have said it.
That's
But
pretty clever. Length versus girth.
yeah, the ultimate test.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I did laugh about that for like a minute when I saw it on the forum. I was like, way to go.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So-
I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if there's any that we've played so far that I felt like, oh yeah, that's totally a Joe character.
Yeah, it's like a really strung out fat guy.
I don't know. Maybe the Bard guy from 4. Like whenever shit gets tough, you just kind of hide when you're low health. I don't know. I'm just bagging on you. I can't really think of one though.
Okay.
I'll have to come back to this next week
Yeah, maybe.
because I don't know. I'm trying to match personality with the characters in the series thus far,
And
and
the looks.
yeah, like there's not really any redheads. So.
When you're looking for doppelgangers. Oh, except for Waka.
Yeah, but jeez, wouldn't do that. to
I don't
me.
remind you of Waka, do I?
No,
Hey!
no, you're not nearly that annoying.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
and your hair looks infinitely better. So
Oh, thanks.
can't go Waka.
Thank you so much. All right, Schweiss. Well, we don't have that much time, so we're going to go straight into iTunes reviews. Please ask your questions on our forum for next week. We'll have more time because we had 3 big episodes, so we're out of space on Libsyn once again. But yeah, Schweiss, can you find it?
Nope.
No, just the trumpets. You want to play the trumpets for a second just to make yourself happy? There you go. Yeah, Caleb's having trouble with the drops. He added so many new drops that he cannot find what he's looking for.
I really can't.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I can't see it either. Did you get rid of it?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, just get to it. iTunes reviews. Let's go.
All right.
You want to pull them up?
Yeah.
Yeah, no jingle this week. iTunes here. iTunes. Come on, Caleb. iTunes. Reviews. iTunes. Reviews. Ding, 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 ding.
That was easily.
All right, our first iTunes review for this week. Okay.
That was easily the gayest thing I've
All
ever
right.
done over
Our
the air.
worst iTunes review that we've ever had.
Oh, Jesus.
A 1-star review from iTunes.
Why? This is the only 1-star review we've ever gotten.
We haven't even gotten a 1-star rating.
No.
And we got a rating and a review on October 7th, 2015. From Amber Willman. Find him on Facebook.
Yeah. Send him hate mail, or her, I guess.
Trying too hard to be like Limit Break.
Ooh.
Right as that Limit Break episode came out, too.
Yeah. I wonder if it... Yeah, we should comment back and be like, it was Limit Break, you fuck. It wasn't trying. It was him.
What's the main dude?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
Oh, fuck. We can't
Amber
use that.
here gets specific.
Oh.
Although one host is okay to listen to, the other one, Joe, tries too hard to be like the guys from Limit Break Radio.
Oh.
Just really obnoxious and loud.
Hmm.
You can give your opinions without raising your voice.
She's got a point there. You don't have to raise your
I
voice.
feel like we should just be quiet from now on, because this review has shown that, like, it's been really, like, this review is now a positive experience, because I feel like now we should just be quiet and we should have long pauses between our words.
Do we have to do it like Shatner, though?
I do. Okay, here's the thing, Amber Willman. Go fuck yourself. First off, you may hate me as a host, and you may think that Kaleb is okay, but just because Kaleb is okay, you should at least give us 2 stars.
Yeah.
1 star is basically a 0. You can't give a no star on iTunes.
Yeah.
So if one host is okay, give us 2 stars. What the fuck is with the 1 star? He said you were okay.
Yeah.
So, like, my feelings aside, Kaleb, I mean, come on, he's okay. Give him another star for the fucking show. I mean, he's half the fucking show.
Yeah.
The other thing is, yeah, we were talking to Limit Break Radio about how they influenced us after the UFF podcast stuff. But Kaleb, I mean, besides, you know, generally trying to fill the silence more and more, which is something we've been working on since the beginning, how much have I really changed since episode 3?
Not really much. I think I've done more change than you. I've gotten a lot more talkative.
Okay.
And I've adopted the ums and uhs to fill the silence, which I hate, but it's better than nothing.
There was once an episode, I think it was like episode 6, I said like every other word, and Kaleb counted him like a dick.
Yeah, I did.
And then told me exactly how many ums I said. Anyway, and Anira was talking about that on the interview thing, and I just want to let you know, Amber, that I think that you are fucking slime. And
Jeez.
you... I'm sure you get some kind of sick, like, satisfaction out of trolling the show this way. But you can seriously go fuck yourself, because we are our own unique show. We have taken some stuff from Limit Break Radio, but then again, we've taken I would say the most influential show here, besides like Adam Carolla, which kind of got me into podcasts, you know, listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
The most influential show is Hollywood Babylon.
Yeah.
The fucking segments, exactly how they're laid out that we have here. Yeah, I fucking stole that from that show.
I'd say
Go
retro.
fuck yourself.
I'd say retro RPG too.
Retro RPG Cast is,
We ripped
you know,
the fuck off of them.
you know, we're just building on it and making our own thing.
That's
So,
kind of the whole
Tell
point.
you what, Amber, how about you make your own fucking podcast, and you can talk like this the whole time, and you can tell me exactly all the audience reviews for your thing will say fucking boring and monotone. That's what it will say on your fucking 1-star reviews. And I can't wait to review it. Amber Willman, I can't wait.
We're looking forward to the Amber Willman show. All right, so we have another one here.
Go fuck yourself.
We have another one here from Wolfpack 27278.
Kaleb is okay. That's an extra star right there.
I know, it should be. This one is a 5-star review titled Awesome Show.
Thank you, Wolfpack.
Yeah, I got to
Much appreciated.
recover from the pounding that the last one gave us. This podcast is a must listen for anyone that enjoys the Final Fantasy
Not
series.
Amber Willman. In fact, I assume that Amber Willman does not enjoy the Final Fantasy series.
Probably not.
We got a lot of Final Fantasy talk on this show. Obnoxious and loud or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes there are early shows where we hardly talk.
Yeah, it's true.
Might as well listen to those, right? Give us
go
an
back
extra
to the-
star
go
for
back
the
to
old
the old
shows,
stuff.
right? You fuck.
It's fun and informative. This is the podcast I listen to when I work in the lab.
When the work
In the lab becomes suckish, which is all the time. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Wolfpack. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we have another one here. Our last review of the day. We have some from other territories that we'll look at maybe next time.
Yeah, we'll catch them next time.
The Ultimate FF Podcast, 5 stars. Thank you, Sinner0913, which I believe is the same person on the forum.
Yes.
I've been a Final Fantasy fan for a long time now. So I was really excited to find an FF podcast when I first started listening to podcasts a few months ago. Ultimate Final Fantasy is, despite what Amber Willman says, the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast. I tried listening to a few others and just wasn't as interested, or they were more geared towards a specific FF MMO. Sorry for all the FF14 talk today.
Yeah.
UFF covers all the main series games and much, much more. This variety of content and consistency of episodes is much appreciated. Every week, baby. The hosts, Joe and Caleb, not just Caleb. I mean,
Yeah.
he's okay. But she includes Joe in this review. As
Good job.
Good thing. Okay. Put a lot of effort into this podcast, and it shows. They are knowledgeable, funny, and I love their genuine interaction with each other. I feel like I'm in a conversation with some old friends when I listen to them. Thanks for all your hard work, Joe and Caleb. Thank you, Sinner.
Yeah, thanks.
I really appreciate that. And by the way, if you guys want to show your love, please give us a nice review on iTunes.
Or a dickish one. I mean, we'll read it too.
Don't.
Joe will just be butthurt the rest of the episode. It's okay.
Luckily, there's enough people giving us 5-star reviews that like the average hasn't gone down at all, which is something I was afraid of. I was like, no, come on. We don't want the other Final Fantasies kind of review kind of amount, you know, like the 3-star, 3.5-star.
Yeah, that'd
range.
be rough.
That'd be suckish. But seriously, thank you guys for leaving your reviews. It really helps the show out. I think like we're not getting as many downloads as like some of the people in iTunes that maybe are ranking below us right now. And I think it's the reviews that are really helping us push forward. And hearing your reviews, I mean, like hearing your reviews, your comments, and seeing the forum posts and the tweets and the Facebook comments, those are all things that really help us keep going on the show. So I want to thank you guys for all the work that you've put into that. So
yeah,
thanks.
the community aspect is what makes it fun.
Thanks,
What
and
makes it worth
fuck
coming back
Amber
to.
Willman. That's what I say. So.
Wow.
All right, Caleb. Can you at least find the jingle for questions from us to you? There it is, number 20. Got it. All right, so we haven't had a question from us to you guys in a few weeks because we had review episodes. Honestly, that's why. So we got to start the new segment on a new forum.
Yes.
It's a nice clean slate right now. As you guys know, we are in Final Fantasy XIV in our main series quest of Final Fantasy, and it won't be long until we've beat all the main series Final Fantasy games. You know, beat in quotes. I mean, we got to the end of the original story in FF11, actually past that, and then we're going. Our goal is to get to the end of the original, or not the original, but of Final Fantasy: A Realm Reborn.
Right, the 2 point something.
The 2.0. The only thing that we can play really. I did see that there was a private server for the original Final Fantasy XIV out there.
Yeah.
If you guys want to check that out, but I guess you can't really do that much except for like walk around and like fight random enemies.
Yeah, that sounds really crappy.
Which kind of sucks. And you gotta have a copy of the original game in order to play it. Because I was like, oh my gosh, we might actually be able to play the real 14. This could change the entire show around. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, I guess not. But
yeah. Well, it sounds like you might as well just play 11 where we're just walking. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
No sound, just fucking footsteps in the sand.
Yep.
because we're at the end of the main series, it's kind of like, oh, we're entering a new phase after this as far as what we do next.
A new phase or a new season?
A new season is what I'm calling it. And the new season, I hope, will have new intro and outro music. And it's going to feature like a whole different section of Final Fantasy games. Of course, we just did the main series. The next thing we're going to do is prequels, sequels, and expansions. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to go through all the sequels, prequels, and expansions of all the main series Final Fantasy games. Starting with Final Fantasy IV Interlude, and then Final Fantasy IV The After Years. Now, we did get a question from Shinru, and I think he put it on the question segment, but I'm just going to answer this here. There's an extra kind of storyline in Final Fantasy II that is unlocked in certain versions of Final Fantasy II, which is called Final Fantasy II... Shit, I forgot the name of it. Do you remember the name of it?
No, I don't remember.
Can't remember the name of it right now, but that's not the point. There is an extra quest in Final Fantasy II. I guess it takes 3 of your characters from the original game, puts them in a new quest line that's like 6 hours long. And he said, it's a sequel to FF2, and I had to talk with Kaleb about this. Like, does it really count as a sequel or as an extra thing? And we finally decided upon whether or not we would play this extra thing in FF2 as a sequel or not. And Kaleb, what's the damage here?
We're not playing it.
We're not playing it.
It's just an extra dungeon, really.
It's an extra quest.
Yeah,
in Final Fantasy II. It's not a standalone game. Not that Interlude is a standalone game either, but it kind of is because you can just like pick up that version of FF4 and then click on Final Fantasy Interlude and then play Interlude. Right. I don't have to play through the original quest of Final Fantasy II or a Final Fantasy IV, and then it takes my characters from Final Fantasy IV and puts them into Interlude using all the information from that thing. It's its own standalone thing. So that's how we've kind of like decided that we're not going to do the Final Fantasy II extra quest thing. Although Shinru, I do invite you to play it and tell us about it, and we might talk about it on the show.
Yeah, I mean that'd be totally fine. But I don't know. It's almost like the side quests in 9 that we didn't do. We didn't do the Chocobo Hot and Cold or the...
Well, it's not that. I don't think it's quite the same as that. I think it's like the extra dungeons in the 3D DS remake of FF3 and FF4.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to go back and play those just because they...
Where they're like, it's an extra, 2.5 hours of content. Well, it's like... I know this FF2... I'm just going to call it sequel because of lack of a better term, extra quest sequel of FF2. I know that it's a little longer than that, but it's still not its own standalone thing. And so we're not going to play it. That's why.
Yeah. We're going to cross that one out.
True sequels.
Yeah.
We can't, we're not going to.
Interlude only really works because of what you said and because it's in between 4 and After Years.
Yeah.
2 and there's nothing in between.
What would have to happen with 2 is that we would have to like play 2 all over again, or we'd have to do emulation. And since the first episode of this podcast, after the first episode of this podcast, we have been in support of buying the games and playing them.
Yes.
And not doing emulation. So I'm not going to go emulate the game and take a save file. I'm not, because I'm supporting Square Enix by actually buying their games.
Yes.
Their re-releases of their old material. So,
other than Final Fantasy 1.
Because the more that we buy that stuff, the more that they'll release.
Yes. Sadly in mobile versions, but... we'll get the occasional console.
I'm pretty anti-piracy, and I know that's rare among the video game group of people out there on the internet. I'm very anti-piracy, so I like to buy the stuff that, it's usually higher quality anyway if you buy it instead of like...
it's in its original form.
A bullshit version of it. Not with emulation, but, for things like movies and music, like they're always a little bit lacking. Like you could have bought the CD or like the official download, and it would have had, it wouldn't have had the sound on the cymbals or anything like that, which is what you get when you illegally download something. Anyway, besides that rant, which I've had a million times on this show, it just doesn't count as a sequel. Now, the real question is here, what do we play next? Because
I was looking at the games that we had to play in the future, and if you've ever seen the game list that we got to play that Amberline was talking about, if we're going to update or not.
Yeah.
It goes from sequels and prequels to like other spin-offs to spin-off series like Crystal Chronicles and Dissidia and all this other shit. And then then there's Kingdom Hearts near the very end, and at the very end are Final Fantasy, games that were once called Final Fantasy in development, and then they changed the name.
Right, like Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, stuff like that.
Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross as a sequel to Chrono Trigger.
Right, yeah.
Bravely Default was going to be called Final Fantasy.
Anything that's really close.
Vagrant Story is not actually one of them.
Yeah, we're going to play it anyway.
But we will play Vagrant Story
right,
as one of the Evil games. And then, what's the last one? Xenogears.
Yeah, Xenogears.
That's the other one. That was pitched as a Final Fantasy VII.
Yep.
But we got a different one instead.
So what's your newfangled idea?
The idea would be that we take one of those games that's not actually Final Fantasy, but is related because, it was once pitched as a Final Fantasy.
Okay.
And kind of give us a break from Final Fantasy for a month by playing one of those games. So after this first season of playing the main series Final Fantasy games, we would play Chrono Trigger. And then we would move on to sequels of Final Fantasy games, just to kind of have like a little buffer between seasons. The other option is, of course, to just play as we've been playing and just go straight into the Final Fantasy sequels and kind of save those games near the end.
Okay.
Which is fine, but I kind of had that idea. I do wonder what you think about it, Caleb. Because I'm kind of split because I'm like, well, the original plan, but then this one's kind of like, oh, well, people might want to hear about Chrono Trigger right now, not necessarily Final Fantasy IV Interlude, and maybe they can wait a month.
Right. I don't know. Jesus, the whole point of the show was to play the main series games and then eventually to play all the games. So parameter number 1 will be met once we've completed the 2.0 storyline of Final Fantasy XIV. We will have played 1 through 14, seen the evolution of Final Fantasy. Essentially, whatever comes after that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what order we play it in, I don't think. Now, that being said, we do have to have some semblance of order, or else we'll play all the godly games first.
Yeah, we'll be like, well, I want to play this one, and this one, and then leave the ones that we've heard that were shitty till the end.
And then we'll have a bad
time. We'd be like, fuck this podcast. Then we drop the mic and walk away after playing like 6 bad games in a row.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So
keeping it in order actually stops it from doing that. But do you want to have a little buffer of a non-Final Fantasy game? Is that something you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think that would be a pretty solid idea. That, or we keep playing 14. Part of me wants to play it through Heavensward as well.
We've had this conversation before. We'll have it on the Twitch stream. Why not? After this. All right.
That may have to be one of the
guys, if you're okay with us going straight into Chrono Trigger, or if you're not, please tell us on the forum. Some people have already commented on this. There's a lot of people saying, hey, just do what you're doing. And then save those for later, just to keep with the list. I didn't actually expect that answer at all from people. I really expected people to be like, yeah, Chrono Trigger.
Tactics, Chrono.
Because I remember at the very beginning of this podcast, they were like, why don't you play this game? Why don't you play this game next? And it's like, well, there's an order.
Yeah.
And I was just like with my glasses on in the corner, like, no, it has to be in the order that I said. And it's true. It does have to be in the order that I said, but I don't mind doing this little change because they're not technically Final Fantasies.
Yeah, that works.
They are kind of sort of Final Fantasies, but they're not technically Final Fantasies. So I don't mind them, and we have them on our playlist, so I don't mind them buffering in between seasons because we got to go to sequels and prequels. And then there's I think a counted amount is 7 seasons, and there's 6 of those games. So it's perfect.
Yeah, it would work just fine.
Yeah. So, yeah, you guys decide. Or you guys talk about it and we'll decide, but we'll talk about it next week, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys, you can find us on youtube.com/Ultimate Final Fantasy, Twitter @UFF Podcast, Facebook.com/Ultimate Final Fantasy. We just got a new patron on Patreon, and the new Megadeth song is dedicated to all you guys on Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. Twitch.tv/Ultimate Final Fantasy. See our episodes live occasionally. And then you go to our website where all this information is found, ultimatefinalfantasy.com. Make sure you send us a screenshot if you're having trouble with the website.
Yep. And until next time, as always, enjoy the grind, you guys.
This has been another production of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. The show was produced by Joseph DeGolier and Kaleb Schweiss, with music and editing by Joseph DeGolier, parodies and clips from their respective authors, of course. You can get all of our episodes as well as our Let's Plays at ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can also contact us on Twitter at UFF Podcast, as well as our contact page on our website. Be sure to subscribe and review our podcast. Your reviews may get read on the show, and look forward to the next episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.